Welcome back. So in the last episode we were shaping some guitar sides, so it's time to start putting them together, putting the middle bit in and starting to make a real guitar shape. So I've got a couple of these, well, one's drying upstairs, but essentially I've got two, and they're holding their shape quite nicely and quite pleased with those. The next thing to do is to think about the central block. Now there's a block that goes down the middle to which these attach, so essentially it's a piece of maple. I've got one here, and what happens is this attaches on something like that, and that forms the centre of the guitar, and that gives it's a nice bit of solid maple. It gives it that sort of nice sound, so it's and it'll keep it nice and solid. So first thing I've done, I've taken some sandpaper on the bench and I've just sanded this down so that it's flat, so that all of the laminations are flat. And the next thing to do, take the piece of wood that's going to form the central block, and I've planed it down to the same thickness. Now it doesn't matter if this is slightly out, you know, if it's slightly thinner than that on the plan, as long as it's consistent, as long as both of these are the same and they're the same as this block, and that forms sort of a planar type of thing. So I take the plan again, print out the central block, and the central block, you can see it's got this curve on the top, and then it's got a curve on the bottom to accommodate the base of the guitar, but also here there's a cutout, and that's the cutout where the pickups and things go essentially. There we go. I'll leave that to dry and then I'll come and cut it out. So now that I've got two sides done, we can take these apart, these moulds. And the useful bit is once I flip them over, what I've got is a perfect shape for the guitar. So if I can just attach these two together, I'm going to have a mould that I can use to build it in. So just with a couple of bits of wood with some holes drilled in, I can just bond these together, make sure they're absolutely together here, and then just do up the screws, one at either end. And there we have a mould. So I can now put my two sides into it, and it should hold them in place like that. While I mess about with them. So we have been at home to Mr. Cock up again. There's the central block, and oh dear. So I've figured out what's happened. When I've been printing out, what's happened is the printouts have not been at the same scale. So I used a different amount of software, a different type of software to do the printout for this thing. And it's obviously not scaling it right. So this is now like an inch short. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. As you can see, the stupid mistake is now corrected. I've extended this, I've glued a piece on the end. It's not perfect, but it's fairly solid. And I've adjusted the top to fit. So now this is a pretty tight fit. You can see I can almost lift the whole thing up with it. Nice and tight fit in there. So that's getting ready to be glued. But first I need to make sure that these sides are now down and smooth to the right sort of level. So they're slightly higher than the block in places, and slightly messy in others. So what I'm going to do is to tidy those up now. And what I've got here is just some 80 grit sandpaper and the thing, and it's taped onto the bench with some duct tape to keep it flat. So then as I use this to sand this, I know that it's keeping flat. So what I don't want to do is take a normal sander and go around, because I'll end up with undulating surface. Doing it like this, I should be able to get it nice and flat and smooth. So the only thing left to do is to glue this central bar in place now. So all I'm going to do is use a bit of this wood glue. I've sanded it all down, I've sanded these down so that now these are all level, so there's no difference in level here. So that all fits together, and then I'm just going to glue this in place here and here. So you can see I've already put some paper underneath to isolate the glue, and then I'll just pull that off there, and we get some glue in here and some glue on the ends. Spread it out a bit, but I can afford to put a nice thick layer of this on. Both ends here. Make sure it's the right way around. Slot it in place. Now I'm not going to bother with any clamps because this is holding it pretty firmly. What I'm going to do is make sure that these are all in the right place. So I'm probably going to put a few clamps just around here, just to make sure that this outside is held in the right place while it dries, just in case it moves, needs to move slightly either end. I've made a little central mark here so I can line the centre up with where the mould joins, so I know I've got it central. And we're good to go. So I'll put a little bit of weight on here, and I'll maybe put some clamps on and leave that. And there we are. It's not pretty, but it does the job. Well, it's the next morning, so it's time to take it out of the mould and see if it's all stuck. With my professional weighting and clamping system. So does it move? Moves at that end, and it moves at that end. Excellent. I'm going to push it out the other way because I won't have to drag the paper that's stuck through it. Oops, there we go. Seems to have held together reasonably well. Got a bit of a crack here where the wood shrunk again. I'm going to have to make a fix there because it's on the outside. But otherwise, it's looking all right. It's starting to look like a guitar. A little bit more to do on that one before they put the front and back on, but nearly there. So thanks for watching. Feel free to press subscribe if you want to. It's really helpful to the channel if you can, or give me a like, and maybe I'll see you next time.